into order. And the roll call, we're all here except Odell is not going to be able to make it.
Kaylee's not here right now.
And Rich is unlikely to be able to make it. I'm not sure. And Vanessa also
No,
is.
Rich had a medical procedure.
Yeah, and Vanessa also is unlikely to be able to be here. And all of the above have to do with medical issues. Isn't that fun? So that, in any event, adoption of agenda. Are there any suggestions? Okay, hearing none, without objection, the agenda is adopted by acclamation. We'll
Mr.
go-
President,
Yeah.
can I ask that we go to board comments first on the next item?
Board comments
Before announcement?
instead of announcements?
Before property owner.
Oh, before property owner. That's merely a matter of who happens to raise their hand first.
Thank you.
Okay, announcements, please. Sir.
I have an announcement about the traffic safety task force from last year. One of the items that occurred was we acquired some equipment to actually do traffic safety studies. And as of a week and a half ago, actually the first of the month, that was deployed, and so there is a traffic safety study underway. It is in targeted areas, gauging the number of vehicles in which direction and their speeds. And so we can actually have some real data within the next couple of months to be able to make decisions about what's going on. And so after the first 12 days, what I've found is the vast majority of people in the place that it was deployed are actually driving the speed limit or slightly over. Now, that was interesting to me because it was right outside in front of my house, and I thought everybody was speeding. But it turns out that only 10% are going 5 miles an hour over or more. Now, that might not sound like much, but 10% are going 31 or more. I think only one person in that week and a half went more than 41. But it's okay. It was a blind curve uphill. No, at any rate, we're getting good data now. It's been deployed to a second location as of today, and we're getting some good data to make good decisions in the future.
Excellent, thanks. You have anything else, or do you want to wait till board comments? You had mentioned. You had mentioned an issue.
I saw a hand over here.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's not the same thing that you're talking about. I'm talking about kids and dogs.
Oh.
And,
Please proceed.
okay, the library. The library in March of 2018 had a 29% increase in people visiting the library compared to March of last year.
Wow.
And already in April, we're up 19% compared to 2017. And right now on Thursdays, they're with the Whatcom Humane Society. They're doing children reading to dogs.
Wow.
So for a half an hour, the kids sign up from 3:30 to 5:30. The kids sign up on Thursdays. They sign up and they'll just read two-way dogs for a half an hour. And of course, it helps for the child to read out loud. The dog is certainly non-judgmental. It's not going to laugh. He may put a paw on you if you make a mistake. But other than that, and I apologize, I wasn't there. I came in a little late tonight to see it, but they said it was a great success. And lastly, the annual safety fair is May 19th from 10 to 2 in the dance barn. We have 42 vendors slated to help us with any emergency that we can hopefully never have.
I just want to add, I was reminded, since you were talking about the library, Eric had found a cache of old views. Now, I think we have them already in our file, but he reminded me of a story from the 70s, talking about way back in the 70s, the county library had a branch here. For some reason, it had disappeared.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and it was here for at least through the 80s anyway. I don't know when it disappeared.
And where was it located? Do you
I
know?
don't know. I don't know.
Downstairs here?
It was located downstairs here, and I believe the reason,
Microphone, please.
it was located downstairs here, and I believe the reason that they quit coming was just a decline in the people that were, you know, they got to where circulation was so few people doing it that they just couldn't support it anymore, and that's why they went away.
In any event, it's interesting that what is new, or what was old, is new.
Yes. And seems to be thriving.
And seems to be thriving. That's a huge increase year over
Yes.
year.
Yes, it is,
Okay.
especially given the weather.
Although the weather actually may have helped.
Probably helps, that's true.
Anyway, sorry. Karen.
I was just going to follow on to that. We have, many of you know Henry Renteria, who's done a few presentations to us and talked to us. He's got a lot of background in emergency preparedness, and he is putting together a video presentation, or a presentation that Eric is going to have his people video. And that is going to also be played at the safety fair to show what kinds of things we can do and we are doing in Sudden Valley to prepare for emergencies.
Excellent. Really good. Good use of communications equipment, technology, and a really,
And we appreciate Eric and his communications team
yeah,
for
it's
their
a
help.
delightful event that the Communications Committee has been so active and is so active. Okay. Yes.
One more thing that I would like to implore board members for is we have an appeal that has been requested by a community member, and it's our duty as board members under the bylaws to function as an appeals panel when requested by members. It's one of the most important ways that we can connect with individual members about their individual concerns in the community. And we have the appeal on May 3rd?
4th?
3rd, Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday, May 3rd. And I need to have 3 board members that will volunteer to be a part of this. And I am hoping that we can have board members that have never done it before, at least one of them, be a part of it, because it's a huge thing for board members to be a part of a committee at all. And board members volunteer to be on committees. They don't get recruited, they volunteer. And so I am making a call out to volunteers for this appeal panel on the 3rd of May. Yes, sir.
What time?
It is, it's right now it's scheduled for 6 o'clock. Can we change that to 7 o'clock?
Absolutely.
What if there's a board meeting?
There is none
There
on
is
the
no
3rd.
board meeting
Well,
on the
there
3rd.
is no board meeting now, but
There is none scheduled so
Yeah.
far on May 3rd.
May 3rd, there will not be a board meeting scheduled. We have a board meeting the week before
And the week after.
and the week after,
all right,
yes.
7 o'clock, I volunteer.
Thank you, sir. And Sarah, you were asking? I would absolutely love if you were able to.
Yeah, I can do it.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
And so I believe that I have
Where are those held at?
downstairs,
Multipurpose. usually.
multipurpose room, 7 o'clock on the 3rd. And staff, could you please, I know that,
Yeah, notify the appellant.
yes. Thank you. And we have a panel now. Thank you.
Yeah, so.
But I don't want to stop at the appeals panel. We have other committees that are lacking board members. And we have a duty as board members to volunteer to be on committees. We have vacancies in long-range planning. We have vacancies in, do we have vacancies in emergency preparedness?
We do now because I'm on
Okay.
Parks and Trails.
Emergency Preparedness Committee, other committees that definitely need to have 2 board members in order to legally function. And that's a state law that says that. And so it's our duty, according to our bylaws and according to state law, to step up and volunteer. And some of us are on multiple committees, and some of us are on 0 committees. And so I absolutely implore those folks that are on 0 committees, please, let's step up and get involved.
Do you
Thank you.
want names now?
No, that's just an.
Yeah, we can take
my
care of that
announcement.
offline.
That we can take care of, if there are board members that would like to apply to certain, or volunteer, not apply, but volunteer for committees, just come out and do it, you know, and we will get it at a board meeting on the agenda and get it approved and stand up these committees that are just failing right now. And we can't have these committees. Some of them are standing committees that we're allowing to fail, just simply because we're not having the involvement that we need from board members.
So it's Long Range Planning Committee and Parks and Trails? those-
No,
and
Parks and
Trails
Trails
is
is
good.
fine.
Oh, okay.
Communication is more than fine. But we have long-range planning, we have.
Document review, have we got that full?
Document review is not officially full, but we do have it.
We have 2 board members,
Yeah.
and that's the minimum required. But the long-range planning, how is the rec task force?
The rec task force could use some additional board input. We have a minimum with Mike and myself, but it would be nice.
But Mike's on 3 of 3 committees. so,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. The folks who are already doing stuff are stretched very thin and could use some
Yeah.
assistance.
So anyway, please, you know, board members, we know what committees exist. And you know what, actually, could someone please send out a list to the board of exactly what committees need people?
Thank you.
Another comment?
Thank you.
Director D'Angelo, I believe there's jazz this weekend.
There is,
You're on,
Are
sir.
you asking?
there is.
Thanks.
Mea culpa, mea culpa. There is a jazz concert here at 3 o'clock on Saturday from 3 to 5.
The signs are up.
The signs are up.
Dixieland.
Mitch, thank you very much. I would get shot if I
The
didn't say.
E-blast went out.
Oh, what did you say, David?
It's the Dixieland.
Dixieland.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's gonna be dancing.
Are you going to have some throws if it's Dixieland?
Some,
Throws, you know, the necklaces that you throw off of.
No, that's Mardi Gras.
That's
Yeah.
Mardi Gras.
I know, but it's Dixieland. Hey.
Not, yeah.
took me by surprise.
Same, same.
I don't know.
Okay, all right. Any other announcements? Yes, ma'am.
We're going to have some competition with the SGM this year. If I'm not mistaken, the fishing derby occurs that weekend
No,
also.
it's canceled.
28.
Oh, I thought it said the
Fishing
21st.
Fishing Derby is being on a limited scale with Sunmark Realty, but Sudden Valley is not involved.
Okay, I just was thinking for people coming in and out. I thought I saw it say the 21st, but I could be
It does.
wrong.
It is.
It is. It's just, I don't know if maybe we need some extra signage for people to make sure they know where to come here for the meeting. Every now and then I hear when they talk about voting day of and stuff, that they don't know where they go to vote in the mornings and stuff, and if the fishing derby is right there, it just can be, you know, a little bit of just, I just was surprised to see it, and it could be a little bit of competition. I have a question for the board. I'd be happy to serve on appeals, although I am a non-voting member of the board. I've served on a board appeal. I don't know if I can serve on appeals. I did as the treasurer when I was on the board before, but that was voting. I don't know if I can or not, but I'd be happy to volunteer.
Thank you. I'll have to take a look. I don't remember what the text says. Do you have an answer?
Well, no, this is just in addition to the fishing derby. That's also the opening day of golf.
Oh, wow.
And pancake feed also.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of stuff going on. Maybe we need some entity to come up with some signs, and we could place them at the various locations to help direct people to, you know, if you're interested in voting, go to X location.
Well,
Okay.
it's just with all this stuff going on.
No,
I'm
I,
just concerned.
totally, makes
Okay.
total sense.
Thank you.
Totally good. Yes. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm actually thinking this through and think I probably should have done this at the adoption of agenda, and
A
I'm
little
not sure.
closer to the microphone, please.
Oh,
Thank
sorry.
you.
I'm thinking I should have probably done this at adoption of agenda, but I'm not really sure how it works, or if I can. Is it possible to request a closed session Can I do
It is
that or
possible to
not?
request a closed session, yeah,
for legal matters?
for legal matters. Yes, it is. I consider legal matters important enough that we'll take that now. It would have been nice, but
Sorry, yeah, I
Okay.
realized that.
So we're gonna have at the end?
at the end, yeah, we'll do that after property owner comments unless you think there's going to be
May I ask a question?
a vote.
Yes.
Okay, then if there's no vote likely, then we'll do it after property owner comments
At the end,
at the end.
okay.
Legal. Okay. Reedy, any other announcements? Okay, then let's go to property owner comments and board comments. I believe you had a,
Let's see, several weeks ago, I told the board that we were involved in several collection activities. One of the collection activities occurred today. The association with the sheriff's department actually seized a sports car, a red Mercedes sports car. It was seized, and it's been taken off, and it's been put off to the side. It was seized from a member that owes us $10,000. And I had mentioned that there was one item that was coming up, and I didn't want to get into it, but today we did actually do that.
okay, and let's not have any more details because it is a legal matter.
It's a legal matter, but we did do that. So if you hear about it, it was a Sudden Valley action that the sheriff's department supported.
Okay. Yes, homeowner comments? Seeing no comments, we'll move on to continuing business. Disc golf.
I can give an update on the disc golf status, but I would like to have a discussion also on a following Director Holmstrom's idea of adding one other item that Director Bradley and I talked about. So I'll do disc golf real quickly. A contract has been offered.
You're asking for another item on the agenda?
I am asking for another item on the agenda, sir.
Does anybody have an objection?
This is not.
It depends on where is it going?
Uh,
After, right now?
my
After your
understanding
disc
is
golf, is
After
that it?
disc golf,
Okay,
Yeah,
Continuing business.
I'm fine.
continuing business.
continuing business. Okay, all right. So we'll add that. And the topic?
The topic will be registration of ballots.
Ballot registration.
And there would be no voting for this.
No vote.
Okay? Okay, disc golf.
Disc golf, the Disc Golf Association was offered a contract. I sent a copy of a contract to the two board members that represent Parks and Trails. I took their comments, amended the contract. The contract is not going to be for $1 a year. It's a $0 cost contract, because if we charge, then we lose our immunity for parks for any lawsuit of anyone that would ever charge us or say I was injured in your park.
It's a lot cheaper to give up the dollar.
Yeah, let's give up the buck. So, anyway, Disc Golf has the contract, and I'm waiting for a response back from Disc Golf on that. Meanwhile, the county has approached us asking for use of the campground while they do their construction on the trails right behind the campground this year. So I'm meeting with them this Wednesday, and then I'll figure out how I can work this out between Disc Golf and the county.
And could you explain a little bit what is the county's reason for needing our spot? Are they locating equipment there? Or
They're locating
materials?
equipment, they're doing a tremendous amount of trail management, construction behind the campground on the trails, and they would like to access those trails, which is perfect, from the campground. And since it's perfectly situated for them, they're asking if they can use it for a staging area, and I want to understand what that means more, so I'm meeting with them on Wednesday.
Good, good, yes. Just to kind
It's
of
a little vague right now.
to tag on to that, I do walk in the Galbraith area a lot, and I know that there are several mountain bike trails being put in, so it does not surprise, on that side of the boulevard, or excuse me, Lake Whatcom, or Lake Louise, sorry. And so it doesn't surprise me that the county is going to be involved in some of that work. Okay.
Next
Good.
item on that.
Progress.
Okay, it's
Progress on
progress, and I see no reason why it won't conclude successfully.
Okay.
On the other item, there seems to be some issue about the way the present ballot registration process is going. Director Bradley and I had a quick conversation. She is challenged in getting her board or her members of her team in for the registration process. If the board has no objection and staff has no objection, we would like to allow the entity committee during the coming week during registration to be able to use a volunteer in place of one of their members for registration. A staff person's inside the room. I know that the person is very interested in running for entity next year, but if the board has no objection, we have no objection, we would advocate that because of their tight schedule and lack of participants from the committee, the board allow them to have use of a volunteer.
I certainly have no objection, but I do want to point out that the existing rules do not allow for volunteers, so that would require an actual motion and vote.
And we can't do that.
We don't have it on our agenda, can we?
That's
vote
right,
on
we
it?
don't have it on our agenda. So in order for that to be done, we have to modify the rules and regs, which requires a board vote. And if we can't vote on it, then
I would
we can't
ask
do
that the executives then entertain giving us a motion or a vote on this to allow it to occur,
All right.
because you have 4 executives right here, and you can do it.
I think so.
We need to give 48 hours notice?
Yeah.
48 hours notice
Yeah, right?
for an open executive committee meeting.
Yeah.
you know.
And do we also need to know the individual's name and make sure they're vetted?
I think that's
Mind
known.
you, this will not occur until Wednesday.
No, on Monday would be the first time that I
So-
would be using
All right,
this
so,
individual.
okay,
have
so
48 hours, okay.
what is today? Is it Thursday? So 48 is Friday, Saturday. So on Saturday evening, we'll do this. We'll just get together real quick, okay? Can we
After the
do that?
jazz concert.
After the jazz? Yeah.
Priorities.
Well, it'll have to be, because it can't be before.
Priorities.
There you go.
So consensus, is there an issue, just on a consensus basis?
Anybody have any issue? Yeah, I mean, if we weren't bound by the 48-hour rule and the agenda rule, we'd do it right now.
Oh, 48, after the jazz concert's still not gonna be 48 hours.
Well, it wouldn't be immediately, but it'd be sometime after, 48 hours would be approximately 7:30 on Saturday evening.
Couldn't we simply have the meeting on Monday?
We certainly could.
You're gonna have to do it in the morning, because I'm gonna do it in the afternoon. I think it's at 1
Understood.
o'clock we're scheduled.
We have time.
But if
And
we
this
have a
person has been
consensus, no-
vetted.
We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. It'll get
Just, there
done.
was a question of if we
It'll
knew
get
who
done.
this was and if they'd been vetted, and the answer is yes.
Yeah.
We will schedule an executive meeting And
Sometime
Before.
Monday before you guys do your thing.
Okay,
It'll
I'll
get
just,
handled.
because I was gonna tell her to just, you know.
This should allow us to continue doing business as we've been doing business. We'll put a staff person in, just as they bring in 2 people, and we'll just continue doing business on this election through.
As long as we're doing stuff by the rules, got no problem.
Director Bradley, that work with you?
That works for me, and it's going very well. We have 978 votes, I think,
Nice.
Wow.
without my spreadsheet.
Vote, folks. Yeah. But to those who have already voted, thank you very, very much. Okay, new business.
I'm going
Employee
to ask
handbook.
our HR manager to discuss the employee handbook change.
Okay,
Okay, in 2017, a new law was passed that involved minimum wage increase statewide in Washington. It went from $9.47 an hour to $11 an hour, with intended increases of in 2018 being $11.50 per hour. In 2019, it will be $12 an hour. In 2020, it will be $13.50 an hour. Many companies have been severely impacted by this, and we've been able to make sufficient adjustments to our budget to ensure that we don't experience wage compression, that people who were minimum wage workers are now making as much as someone who's been here for 5 years. It was done well, and it's been done equitably. The second half of that measure included a mandatory sick time and safe leave for all employees. Up until now, sick leave was only granted to full-time regular employees, and now it's mandatory that all employees, whether they're seasonal, temporary, part-time, full-time, are granted sick leave, and sick leave is accrued at 1 hour per 40 hours worked. The challenge for us has been that if we had a pooled time off, meaning our sick time and our vacation time was one big pool, we would be in compliance, because what the mandatory, for a full-time employee, the mandatory amount of sick leave they would be granted in a year is 52 hours. Currently, we don't accrue at that rate for our staff. So we've had to increase the accrual rate for our full-time regular staff and also alter the accruals for any part-time or seasonal workers. Now, granted, it sounds a little daunting, but if you think about how long a seasonal worker will be with us, to earn 1 hour of sick time for 40 hours worked, it's going to take them a long time to get a full day off. So it's not as costly as that might sound. However, it's required some adjustments to the way that our employees accrue sick time.
And that's on page 2.
It is on page 2, and the most notable is that as it stands now for all of our full-time salaried employees, if you take vacation time, or you take sick time, or bereavement time, or whatever type of paid time off, you're still accruing sick time, which means for our part-time, our hourly employees, if they take time off, they're not going to accrue, and that isn't fair, because they're still full-time regular employees, they're just hourly. And so we've had to adjust our system to reflect the fact that even if they take vacation time or sick time, even though they have to clock their hours, they will still accrue. It's confusing, I realize that, and that's why I'm here, because I can see your face saying this is awfully confusing. But Jennifer, who is obviously not here tonight, she and I sat down and went through all of the possibilities, and our payroll system was not prepared to handle it. It is now. They were kind of a day late and $1 short. But we were able to change our payroll accrual rates to be equitable across the board and also compliant to the new state law. If you have any questions, please let me know, because it's a little confusing. Carol? Yeah.
Go ahead.
So this policy complies with that and helps us get to a point where it will be handled appropriately
It
by
does.
state law.
It does, and it also is equitable for all of our full-time regular employees, meaning that hourly employees are not penalized for the fact that they are non-exempt employees.
And I would like to make a motion that the board accept this, this new policy and approve it.
Second. Is that necessary?
Yes, it's necessary because the employee manual is essentially a rule and regulation of the association. The immediate question, it's been moved and seconded, and the immediate question that comes to mind is, I presume this is a replacement for the existing policy?
It is.
Okay, so it is not simply an adoption of a new thing, but it is taking the old one, throwing it out, and replacing it with the new one.
Do you
Which
wish
is on
to
page two.
amend that, the motion to
Not
say such?
necessary, as long as
Okay.
everybody understands that that's what's going on.
One additional thing, and I don't know how relevant this is, but this sick leave policy also includes domestic violence leave, and that's something.
I'm sorry, you're a little so close to the microphone,
Okay, and
I
I
can't
tend to
hear your
talk,
voice.
talk too fast as it is. So,
There we
it also includes the compliance with the domestic violence leave. So this is also the sick time can also be used to, if someone needs to not be at work because they need to be relocated to be safe, this covers that leave.
Right.
Mr. President, excuse me, Linda?
Yes, Linda?
I just have a question on this, the initiative 1433. There's a statement in there that it says most employees are eligible. It states in there that it states, however, most employees are eligible to receive paid sick leave. However, some employees may not be required to receive paid sick leave because of their job duties make them exempt from the Minimum Wage Act. Exemptions include doctors, lawyers, and dentists who are employed in their applicable professional fields. Additionally, most executive managers paid on a salary basis who supervise 2 or more full-time employees are exempt as well. How does that apply to us?
It doesn't apply to us because we don't have medical professionals in our organization, and executive and managers are already in compliance, so there was no change needed.
So there's no change in their if they, under our old contract, if they had 40 hours of sick leave, they're still gonna get that instead of the 52? Because it says in here exempt employees will receive 52 hours.
No, we did adjust the accrual rate for everyone to make it equitable. So there was a change made, and it needed to be equitable. So whether we could make exempt our few folks that may fall into the executive category, it was a decision to make certain that every employee was treated fairly. It's not between 40 hours and 52 hours. And here's a statistic. What we find is that our management or our employees that are engaged in their work, they take very little sick leave, unless, of course, it's necessary. And so the risk factor in creating an equitable situation was very minimal.
Okay, I just was wondering, how many people do we, I guess then I will say, how many do we have who are salaried? I just would like to know
How
that.
about, may I
Is that-
request that you rephrase that so that you just say, how many exempt employees do we
Okay,
have?
how many exempt employees do
I don't
we
know
have?
that number off the top of my head, but I'd happy to provide it to you.
Okay, that's cool, just send me an email with it in, thanks.
You're welcome.
That's all we have, sir.
Okay.
Call the question.
Oop, I see a hand.
Sorry.
I just
No, I changed my mind.
If I have a change I want to make, would that be an amendment to the motion?
Right now, yeah, if you want to change the motion, which is essentially adopt this.
Okay.
It's a very simple motion, adopt this.
Okay, so can I make an amendment to the motion to change the last sentence in this policy to say sick hours may not carry over from year to year?
It's a requirement. Under the new law, the sick leave has to carry over. If
In
you
the
research the motion,
1433?
it does have to carry over.
Okay, I withdraw.
Okey-doke.
And that is new for 2018.
Call the question.
Question has been called. Is there any objection? Then without objection, all in favor, please indicate. That is unanimous.
One more, this is, it has nothing to do with the vote, but it's just a point of information.
Okay.
Another change to this law, and this applied to our seasonal staff. If a staff member has accrued sick leave and they leave, if they return within 12 months, they are able to retain that sick leave that they've accrued.
it's sort of like a mulligan, get out of jail free.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Whatever. It's the law. The legislature does change things from time to time, I believe we find. Sometimes we like it, and sometimes we don't. Okay, so I signed that, and I'll hand it over later, but we've got some other stuff on there. So, thank you very much. Yeah. SVCA credit card policy, ET, is, no, I won't say that. No, I'm not gonna
I'm
say
not
that.
going to phone it in.
No, there you go.
Mr. President, we have a credit card policy that is on the books right now from 2000, well, about 18 years ago. Back before people are using a whole lot of different ways of paying things now. And the credit card policy from the year 2000 said that we can accept credit cards for dues. And that, however, flies in the face of our legal opinions and laws that are current, which could change in the future, as you just indicated. But right now, there was a lot of research done in the last 2 years by the Finance Committee. I think Director Holmstrom did some research and reported a couple of weeks ago to the board. And there is no way for us to actually accept credit cards at the window for dues without running afoul of banking and legal requirements. And so,
Legal meaning mostly the credit card companies, right?
well, there's banking
Yeah.
requirements, and we have a legal opinion also. Isn't that correct?
Concerning HOAs
Can-
as well.
Concerning HOAs. And do you have any clarification to add to, or anything to add to that?
It was just the specific thing with HOAs and dues is that you have to be equitable to every member. And that's the problem we ran into. Even though it's clearly a fee they're choosing a service, it's not viewed that way. It's still viewed as somebody paying more for the same dues. So it's not
Correct.
equitable.
And I'll throw in that my understanding is that the reasoning behind that hiccup has a lot to do with how credit card companies require their fees to be allocated, and the two things just don't line up, not for us.
Right, okay, so thank you. So we have another policy on the books that is defunct. It doesn't work. We need to supersede the policy with something that does work. And so I would propose a policy that is more of a living policy that can flow with the ever-changing laws over time, the ever-changing banking regulations. And so the policy that's being proposed, I hope you've all had a chance to read it, but it simply allows members to be, well, let me retract that. It allows our staff to have the flexibility to allow payments to be made by credit cards for certain things and accept an additional fee for the transactions, for example, the marina or other things, where right now somebody might be paying $100 for a slot at the marina in cash, somebody else might be paying $100 for the marina on a credit card, and we're losing 3% on that transaction.
3%.
Yes. And so it might be appropriate, and admin might recommend that the board institute a fee for that. And so this policy allows them to consider that. Now, also, there are other ways that dues might be paid in the future. And so this policy allows staff to flow with the changing abilities with law. Now, I know that I paid my dues with a credit card just this month. And so I would like for the ability for staff to be able to put on the website a link to Mutual of Omaha that has the easy sign-up method to pay with a credit card. And so that's a third-party vendor taking care of credit card transactions for paying dues, which gets us off out of the landmines around those legal requirements that I mentioned earlier, which allow us to not accept them at the window.
So before you ask a question,
I
can we
need
have a
a
motion?
motion, yes.
Let's have a motion.
And so I would like to make a motion that we supersede policy 2000-13 with this new policy that is drafted on page 4 of today's agenda.
Second, sorry.
Okay, moved and seconded. It's not numbered. I presume that staff will take care of putting the appropriate number, because I'm sure we have had other policies this year.
That is correct.
Okay. Oh, now, thank you, ma'am.
Now, okay. Now let's see what was the note, right? So you paid with a credit card using the Mutual of Omaha's website, facilities, et cetera, et cetera. Did Sudden Valley receive the entire amount of the dues?
Yes, I checked with Gil to find out exactly how long the transaction took to actually hit Sudden Valley. I submitted the payment on a Sunday, and on Monday, it was on the books for Sudden
and the
Valley.
full amount?
The full amount.
Okay.
The transaction fee that Mutual of Omaha charged me, however, was, I think, $14.95. Now, that is a convenience fee, okay, that
they
was
are
a hit.
charging.
That they charged me to be able to
Okay.
do that. Now, that is a per transaction fee, which means I could have paid for the whole year, and it only cost me a $14.95 transaction fee. Okay, so that brings it down.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the cheapest way to get your dues paid is to sign up for ACH,
Yeah.
which is also a link on the website, but
Yeah.
that's free.
Who seconded that motion?
Carol Houghton.
Thank you.
Mr. President, Linda?
Linda?
I guess the only thing I'm curious about is this is our policy, but I think if we're going to, I think basically saying if you want to pay your dues by a credit card, that currently the only option to the owners is to pay it through the bank, Mutual Bank of Omaha. That, I think,
That is correct, but it's not necessary to put that in the policy, because that restriction may change, and Lord knows
understand
we
that.
hope it does, but right now, at least the way I understand this, it just says staff will do the research and will do whatever necessary to make whatever
Future
convenience mechanisms available that we can.
so we have the policy. I'm assuming that fees will have to be published then at some point in time.
Of course.
For people to know that, you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Whether it's a 3% and what different goods or transactions or services like the marina or whatever can be done. You know, golf, my gosh, their bank fees for their credit cards are yipes. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, when we did away with this back in 2000, that the reason was we were finding that, like, the bank fees were just huge, just to offset paying, because more people paid with credit cards back then, and it was just, for us, we were paying a lot in bank fees for the, people to do that and not charge them.
Point of information, it was done away in 2000, and then it was brought back into effect, and it remains in effect.
Oh, weird, I was gone then, so I can't.
No, this is the 2000 one that brought it back into effect.
But it's just,
So,
I
anyway,
just,
that was informational.
okay.
Mr. President, Carol?
Carol?
I was just going to say that, really, we can charge a fee for anything except dues.
Except dues.
And dues, as long as it's paid in a different way, in an alternative way. In other words, if you come to the front window, we cannot charge a fee. But if they go to an alternative site, such as Eric did, then the fee is okay because it's not our fee, it's the alternative site's fee. And there are other things that the association has been exploring in order to try to do that, but so far, we have not found one that is any better than $14.95 per transaction. But there may come something in the future, which is why I think this is a good policy, which allows us, if it comes to be able to do that without having to change the policy again.
Mr. President, Mitch?
Director Bradley, to your question, if this were to pass, we would have to establish what the convenience fee is, put it to the fee schedule, which has to be approved by the board.
Call the question.
Question has been called. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, all in favor, please indicate. That's unanimous. Okay, so, the previous policy is now canceled. For 12/18. This is passed for 12/18. Finally, we get to respond at least as much as we're able to a request from the members to have some extra convenience and flexibility. It's not as good as they would like, it's not as good as my logic thinks ought to be, but as good as we can do. Okay, so would you pass this down to staff?
Thank you.
Okey dokey, that's the end of business. Good Lord have mercy.
Property owner comments?
Property owner comments. Yes, ma'am. The normal process, come down to the podium and then give us your name and the location of your property, either division and lot or just street address, whatever you happen to remember.
My name is Mary McIntosh. I live at 3 Whistling Swan Place.
Hmm?
I guess I'm a little bit confused about what was disclosed earlier at this meeting, and the entering a property and seizing a homeowner's property. I've never heard of an HOA's ability to do that, and I have some concerns over the process. And reading the CC&Rs and stuff when I just purchased the property certainly didn't state anything about that. The ability to enter the property. I mean, do I have to worry about if I'm late on my dues? You know, are you guys going to enter the property and take my belongings?
I'll address that as much as I can, given that it's a legal issue. This is not something that we do lightly. This is not something that we have done in the past, and it was done completely pursuant to court order and carried out under the supervision of the Sheriff's Department.
And that's
This is
totally
not something that staff does, not something that the association on its own does. But when years of debt go uncollected after multiple attempts at getting some form of compliance with dues, then we're forced to do things such as send those accounts out for collection. This is one, unfortunately, that the collection agency returned saying was uncollectible through their means, and so we were forced to take legal alternatives. And all I can say in an open meeting and regarding a sensitive issue like this, which is purely legal, is that it was done pursuant to absolutely every law that is applicable in the state of Washington.
So is there was a court order for
Yeah.
the situation?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I guess I'm a little appalled to hear about personal property being taken out of a home. It's a little scary to think that.
It's a drastic solution to what I would have to characterize as a very long-standing and intractable problem, and for which a drastic solution was necessary. It is not something that we take lightly, and I can state, well, I tell you what, I will ask the GM to explain a little bit how our past due procedures and our late procedures are normally handled.
See if I got this right. How are our past due processes handled?
Yeah, when someone is past due,
We
is
have
the
a
first thing that
full-time
we go to
collections-
court?
We have a full-time collections person, and that person's job is to work with the membership to understand what's the issue, how are we going to reconnect and stay connected so that we do not have a I'm dodging you situation. I mean, if there's a problem, let's identify the problem. Maybe we'll have to suspend dues for a while. They'll accrue, but no penalties and no fines. And I signed a plan like that today. And the member needs some time to breathe to get back on their feet. And so we do that. And our collections person works with the membership, which probably explains why our membership collection rate is 97%. It didn't get there because there was a harsh relationship. It got there because there's a partnership relationship. Rarely do we end up having to go to court. And when we end up going to court, we sometimes negotiate right up to the 11th hour. And if we have to go to court, we get a judgment and we still work with them. And if they refuse to work after many years that this went on, then another measure was taken. And it involved going to court and getting opinions on how to do it. And we had choices. We exercised one of the choices. First time I think the association's ever done it.
Right, in 45 years or so?
I was just wondering if Director Holton could address the fact that we have multiple plans as far as collecting dues.
I was hoping that the
Yeah.
GM could do that, but
Yeah.
either one of you guys.
Well, I think he spoke to it, and I think, first of all, we do a 30-day letter, a 60-day letter, a 90-day letter, a 120-day letter. We go all the way up to 6 months before we even put a lien on anything if we choose to. And so there's, a letter goes out, attempts are made to call, we invite the person in. I will say that Davy, our collections person, is very personable. Her intent is never to distance a member, but to try to create a partnership so that we work with them. We listen to all concerns, and we try to work through a plan that will, in fact, give the person a chance to be successful in their payment plan. And we also have a fiduciary responsibility to all other members, because if we have one member or 20 members or 50 members or 100 members or whoever it is not paying their dues, then the rest of us are covering for that individual and filling the rest of it. Now, in most cases, it is a hardship that's temporary and we're able to help them. Other cases are more severe, like somebody's passed away and we work through that in a different manner, or someone has, a company has become defunct and they owned the property and we've had to collect in other ways. So we try to put together a plan that is fair and of concern to the person who's the owner, and to come up with an equitable plan, and we give every opportunity for the person to remedy the issue. And it's a very precise process that's on our website that can be looked at any time, or we're happy to send out the whole set of letters.
I read
So you know.
the information that you have on your website, and it just stated that there was somebody to talk to if there was an issue.
There
It doesn't
is.
state that. I mean, is this $10,000, is this the $76 a month accrued to 10,000, or is that late fees?
I'm afraid that that's an answer I won't give.
Yeah, we
That
can't really
goes
speak
into
to
someone's
that.
account.
That's a personal.
That's personal information, but know that it's a long time occurring. It
And
wouldn't
doesn't
occur
the
that
HOA
overnight.
lien the property, when you purchase the property, the HOA has a lien on it, And so what, I don't understand what you said after.
No, that's not a
We
correct
don't have,
statement.
we don't have a lien on anyone's property,
Unless we
unless you are in
file,
arrears.
yeah, unless we file a lien.
Okay, for if you're late, but I mean, but when a property sells, the HOA has to be
Satisfied,
That is correct.
satisfied.
correct.
If we have a lien first, and the property sells, then
So
we are
it-
satisfied.
But in order to transfer the property to the new owner, all of the HOA dues out of the equity of the home must be satisfied.
In most cases,
In most cases, yes.
but that doesn't necessarily apply to every single case. And more than that, I can't be explicit.
Typically, yes. I think
But
that's what we can
normally,
say.
the
Typically,
case
yes.
is that when there are legal complications, that may not be available. And so we have to take other means, and I can't get into more detail than that. But normally, that would be the case.
Your title company would be able to answer this question better for you.
Well,
It
I mean, I
depends
think-
on the particular property.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a pretty basic understanding. It's just, concerning to think. So this isn't something that you guys do on a regular basis, is go into people's homes and take property?
As I said, one time,
Well, I mean, it's a little scary though, because I mean, now this is the current board that did this. And so this is the current board that I now am a homeowner under. So if it was a different board that didn't do it for 45 years.
The board has nothing to do with this.
This
With-
is legal.
With respect, I think that it's not the board that did it, it's the individual involved that brought it to a point where legally there was a judgment that caused this.
yeah, again, nothing was done without authorization and oversight by a judge, a court, said. this
And
is what you can
it
do.
was found to be, I mean, I just don't understand why it didn't just attach
May I
to the
suggest that
property.
this is a legal matter, and to further discuss it would be to impinge on the privacy of the person who's, about
It
this
just
is
as a
concerned.
homeowner, it's just
Okay.
really
Oh,
concerning.
certainly.
I understand that you're concerned. I very much hear, I can see it in your face, I hear it in your voice. And it may be, because it hasn't been done here, it may be kind of a shock. It's not something that you would be normally told about when you're buying a home. Those things I can very much understand. All I can say is, this is really a tough decision that can only be made at the very end of the day. This is not
And
the way.
it's not made by the board, so
And-
it's just made by the general manager?
No,
It's
no,
made
no.
by a judge.
It's,
Made by a judge.
the board and general manager take a look, usually not even coming to the board. The general manager and our corporate attorney will take a look at the situation, and the attorney will say, these are your options. This is what you can do in order to have this debt satisfied. And we don't do anything without a legal opinion that says this is the way you should go. And in this case, out of the assortment of things and tools that we could use, this is the one that we were forced to use. And we don't do anything. We go to court, the court says this is what will happen, the sheriff comes out and does what the sheriff does. That's it. We're not involved.
Okay, well, I guess I can probably look it up because it's probably public record, so thank you for
Okay, yeah.
explaining what you did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other homeowner comments? Okey-doke, what? Board comments.
I have one comment about the dues the dues analysis from the end of last year. We have, as the general manager indicated, 97% collections rate at the end of the year. Now, what that means is that we had, out of our 3,143 dues-paying lots, we ended up with 18 payment plans in December, which is, the number of payment plans are decreasing because the number of current dues payers is increasing. And I think that over time, the association has been working with people that are behind and in need to create payment plans and help them out. I've seen it happen. And now that we're down to a total of 18 at the end of the year payment plans, I think that we're doing a fantastic job of the community doing what their responsibility is. And so I want to thank the community for that. And my second board comment would be to thank the volunteers that are doing the televising tonight. Thank you, Hannah and Joe Jean.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so now we will adjourn for a closed session. We'll give everybody a few minutes to get out, and the microphones will go
8:02?
off and everything. And so you took note of the time.